All right, welcome, Servitude Tuesday. Here we are again for another Servitude Tuesday. If you are just joining us, this is your first time, welcome. We are super glad you're here. Every Tuesday I go live. I get to go live with an amazing woman from our page to hear a little bit more about their story, what they're doing. And as I put in my post tonight, we all learn from one another's stories. So I'm super excited to hear Pia's story tonight. So if you're just joining us, please. All right, welcome, Servitude Tuesday. Here we are again for another Servitude Tuesday. If you are just joining us, this is your first time, welcome. We are super glad you're here. Every Tuesday I go live. I get to go live with an amazing woman from our page to hear a little bit more about their story, what they're doing. And as I put in my post tonight, we all learn from one another's stories. So I'm super excited to hear Pia's story tonight. So if you're just joining us, please, hopefully you've given StreamYard permission to share your name in the comments. If not, just let us know who you are and what you are loving about this conversation. And if you're watching later, please hit hashtag replay. And again, let us know what you love about this conversation. We are all here to support one another on this journey of starting over. You know, I do believe that all minds are joined and we're not competing. We are literally cooperating and working together as a team. So without further ado, I am blessed to be with the beautiful Pia Antico. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are saying it perfectly. Thank you.
Perfect. Amazing. And we are here at 6:30 because Pia is in the beautiful land of Down Under in Sydney, Australia. So where I'd say it's nice and sunny, but she did say it was raining, and it's been raining off and on for a while.
It's been raining.
Now.
We've been having British weather down here. Weather from the colonies blown through over here.
Right.
But there is a glimmer of sun out my window. I'm seeing a little ray of sunshine, so it's a harbinger of a beautiful day, no doubt.
Well, we will send the beautiful. Hopefully, we have beautiful weather here, so we'll send it your way.
Oh, please send it our way.
All the way from Toronto. So, Pia, I am so excited because I know a smidgen of what you sent to me, and honestly, I'm really intrigued for many reasons. I'm intrigued about near death. That always. I know that always. But you did lead off with that, so I feel like
I was taught the power. Start with the power message thing, and I thought, oh, all right. It's funny, on one level, we're guided to start our message with a story of ourselves in this space. I am a coach. I'm a Crone Life Joy Reboot mentor, so I'm particularly focused on women 40 and over, our age. I turned 50 this year in April, so just beginning my journey into finally figuring out who the heck I am and where I fit in life. And the beautiful not worrying about what other people think and not having to be understood. I think that's been probably the biggest liberation that I've realized, because I spent most of my young adult life, or really actually most of my childhood through into adult life, believing that I needed to be understood. And from a counseling and psychology background and now coaching background, there is this idea that is put out there at times, particularly in the relationships space, that a good, healthy relationship is one where we understand each other. And I've got a really novel way of looking at things these days, is that on a core level, we are never actually going to fully understand each other. We can try and explain ourselves, but we all have our own reality. We all see the world through our own unique lens. And through that unique lens, we create the story of our existence. And that story keeps changing, and each new fresh thought brings about a new feeling, because our thoughts create our feelings. But underneath that ebb and flow of thought and feeling is our inner wisdom. And that's where the stability comes. I feel for myself and for others, we have sort of been maybe led down a little bit of a wrong road in trying to change what we're thinking and figure out why we're thinking it and manipulate our feelings and control them in order to bring about a sense of stability.
Right.
And we don't need to do that because we are already stable. It's not the circumstances and it's not the ebb and flow of thought. The stability comes from our universal wisdom, which we all have.
Right.
We just lose sight of it every so often because we get caught in the story in the head that looks really real, and that we put that picture of what we're carrying with us out, like broadcasted onto the world, like projected onto the world, and then are responding to that when we think we're responding to the people and to the events directly. Yeah. And we say stuff like, my ex-husband made me, I've got two, by the way, so hence why I leapt to that, because I have two, and that's part of the epiphany of what was my coming into being 40. The turnaround for me and the rocking my 40 and beyond came from realizing the second marriage was not the best idea. And it came about because I was still under the misapprehension that I had to fix everything outside of myself. I had to get stuff, be a certain place. Happiness was a destination. Things had to look a certain way. I definitely was feeding into that I needed to be in a partnership in order to be valid in some way, because the validity and understanding, and that's coming back to looping what understanding was for me.
So many women, I would say, even, well, before we're 50, because we feel like that. We feel like we've got to live outside of ourselves. We don't really, for me, it was in my late 40s coming into menopause, and really, I felt like I was in quicksand. And it was that menopause period, but I didn't know at the time what was really happening. I just felt like I was in quicksand and I couldn't move. And I just needed to be slow. Everything needed to be slow. It was such an odd feeling, but it was when I really looked inside and, really understood me and my needs instead of looking outside. And so many of us do that, right? So many women.
It is. I do believe it is very strongly the calling of this stage of our life.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I do want to just quickly add in here my understanding of the crone. The crone is the definition of crowning. It was a honorific term pre-Christianity given to the elder women, crone and hag. Unfortunately, they were terms that were then disparaged, given history of patriarchy and misogyny. So for me, reclaiming crone and understanding what her energetic role is in our life at this time. And the fact is, we all, male, female, other identifying, it's not directly associated with physical biology, and it's also not particularly age related either, because we all come with the archetypes of the child, the nurturer, the wise person, and so the crone is that archetype of wisdom. And it's just, yes, it does seem for us who have wombs and go through menopause, this archetype does give rise at this time particularly. And I do believe it has something to do with the energetics as our ability to create life in a human form recedes. It opens the way for our sacral chakra, our creative energy at that center of our body that men have and everyone has, but it's at that center of the body. It becomes more aware to us, and that's the inner journey, and that's where we create from.
I love it.
I find there's such a metaphysical, spiritual journey in our physiological change through the stage of life.
Oh, 100%. And I read quite a bit about menopause and the metaphysical, journey through menopause. And it really is quite a beautiful, and I like you're terming it the crone, which I'd never heard. So I'm so glad you clarified that, because I was like,
what's the crone?
That?
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that. And what I came in touch with throughout that period, and still going through it, I just turned 51, but is the divine feminine.
Yes.
And honoring that, right? So I'm kind of equating it when you talk to that divine feminine.
It is absolutely coming from that. So whether this terminology, I guess, Maiden, Mother, Crone, we would be looking in the divine pantheon. I mean, it's coming out of Greek and Roman goddesses kind of thing, but it's also in the Anglo-Celtic background as well. We're talking back in a history pre-Christianity, and yes, the key that I suppose what has happened for us, I feel, and we see it played out in our society now, is the image of the old woman being old and warty and evil. Look at the fairy tales. Look at Disney. Look at the fairy tales. All the older women are trying to murder little children, eat little children, or kill the pretty maiden because she's jealous.
Right.
And then and the terms wicked witch, the term hag was holy one. She was. It's not. We need, and so for me, reclaiming and understanding the real meaning of Crone and what she stands for energetically and sociologically is it's a revolution in aging. I fundamentally feel that aging isn't just about our biology. Aging is a social construct as well, and we are living in times of rampant misogyny and fat phobia and youth obsession.
I agree.
It just everything aimed at us. If you go to YouTube and you type in women over 40, everything aimed at us is either about looking young. I purposely, in the way I talk, I do not use looking younger, feeling younger, to equate it with vitality and energy and liberated sense of being, because there are plenty of young people who are not feeling all that good out there. So
100%.
Youth is not where we need to be. It's it's vitality and energy and creativity, and we have that. It's an ageless, timeless thing because it's an inner wisdom thing. And so once you tap into that, then you will be vital and energetic and creative in the moment in your life and guided by your wisdom to the grave and beyond, depending on where you are in your what happens afterwards kind of thing. But
I love it. I love it. That sounds just so beautiful. Okay, so take us back a little bit, because I know
I can go backwards. Yes,
just a little bit. Like, what were you doing before? So pre, Crone joy. I know psychology is in your background. I can hear it when you talk.
Psychology is in my background. Yeah, no. So little snippets. Which I will say, the snippets of my story are in 2 books at the moment, 2 co-authored books.
Amazing.
If you go into Amazon and type in my name, Pia Antico, you will find my author profile and the 2 books. And so I've actually, in both these books, I do talk about them. In the first co-authored story, I talk about the near-death experiences prior to 30. First was when I was 17. I had my first boyfriend. Bless you. Had my first boyfriend, and we were beginning to sort of look at starting uni and all that kind of thing. And yes, eventually intimacy did proceed. and I got a UTI infection that went to my kidneys. And of course, I'd never been majorly sick at that point, until that point, never really been sick. So I had no idea what the heck was going on, except it wasn't very good. Landed in hospital. There was much concern because everything was failing on me, and Mum was in a panic about it at that time, naturally. And they had to, at one point, they had to revive me because things began shutting down. The upshot of that, unfortunately, was that though they got everything under control at that point, and I'm here today talking about it, but it did set me up for my 20s and 30s with a sort of a chronic cycle of UTIs and kidney problems, and then of course we all know when we take antibiotics for any extended time, it then throws us off. And I was dealing mainly with the Western medical sector at that time, and so at times it's like they give you they treat things with a sledgehammer when it really needs a little screwdriver.
Right.
That's what came out of that for me beautifully, though, is my exploration and practice of alternate healing methods that were not part of what I grew up understanding and seeing. So that opened a whole door for me, which has been life-saving throughout my life. Using Reiki, having acupuncture, having massages, taking supplements, all the things, anything that comes up for me to use in that moment, I will use. So I've got quite a diverse toolbox. So that was 17 and really impacted my life to my early 20s, where I was then out in the world in a body that wasn't playing nice with me, not really knowing what my life was going to bring about. And that's when I met my first husband, who was older than me, and he, interestingly, I look back now, he was he marketed himself as a spiritual mentor, coach kind of thing. So it's funny, it is where I'm leaning in my own work now, but I can see where he was that wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. We all now definitely come across the charlatan, the person who hasn't really done the work on themselves at all, but they've got some tools and they've got some language, and if you're a seeker and you don't know any better, you can easily get caught up in it. And so I did, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know what, though, Pia, like, as I'm listening to you, you know, we always, on our Wednesday, we have every Wednesday we go live, and we always talk about this. Things happen for us, not to us.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, your life experiences that you've had have brought you to where you are today. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we talk about this as well, like this piece of, you know, this idea, sometimes coaches have a bad rap, right? We have a bad rap, and, you know, people get tired of it. And I think to myself, and they wonder, and I've heard this countless times. Well, you know, you just went to a quick little weekend retreat and got a coaching degree, or you know, where's your degree in psychology? You're not a doctor. And I've heard that, and I've seen it on people's pages and comments, and I think to myself, it's called life experience.
There's that, yes.
Life experience has brought us to this moment. And, you know, we are here as women shining this torch like, hey, I have a faster way for you. You know, we can
been through some stuff.
Yes, exactly. Right.
I mean, I will insert there for those who want some validity. I have, 3 degrees in psychology, up into and including an honours, a master's in community development, and a degree in counselling. I was a grief counsellor in my early 30s for a while, and 3 years certification as a coach, and 4 years particularly in the coaching field, and 2 years specifically in the modality that I work from and trained in that. And of course, I'm a lifetime learner, so I'm always learning. There isn't something I'm not even counting all the non-certified kind of stuff. I'm always learning. So, and I think that we can't make assumptions about what people. Everyone has wisdom.
Yeah.
And everyone has a unique wisdom.
Yes.
And no one's way of seeing even what appears to be the same physical condition. We could all go to the same movie together at the same time, sitting in the same row, and all eating a box of popcorn even. And yet how we taste the popcorn is going to be different. What we take from the movie is going to be different. Our experience of sitting in that space and sitting in our bodies are not going to be the same. Each of us have our own unique experience.
I love it. Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that we assume that just because we're all in the same physical space doing the same activity, even eating from the same box of popcorn, that we're all having the same experience, and we are not.
Yes, I love it. It's so true, right? Perspective is everything.
It is.
It really is. It's everything. And our perspectives depend upon our model of the world, right? Yeah. Our experiences in the world. It completely changes everything for people. So yes, it absolutely does. So I love that you said that. But, you obviously have a huge, vast background and education. But more importantly, for me, I think it's the background in life. What you've come to learn about yourself, what you've come to know about the world, what you've come to learn about the way you think. All of these things, to me, this is my personal opinion, but far outweigh a university degree.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say the segue of where all those degrees are coming from, that's the segue into so the first was the kidney failure. The second was in early 20s in a little car, that little 121. I don't know whether you get them in the US, the little Mazda bubble car, looks like a little rice bubble. So early 90s, I'm driving that. I'm stopped at the lights behind a semi-trailer, and the semi-trailer coming up behind me lost its brakes and pushed me and the car underneath the semi-trailer in front of me. That, funnily enough, that experience, that was one of those time slow-mo Matrix kind of moments. I could hear the crashing of the glass. I was there for a moment. I wasn't there for a moment. And then I snapped to and realized what happened. Then, I don't know, did a bit of a Mission Impossible across the side of the passenger side and climbed out the window of my car, and stood on the pavement, looking at my car that was bubble shaped 1 minute and a little concertina box the next, and I'm like going, very out of body. And I look up to the man standing next to me, and he's an old family friend of my mum's. And we're not in any suburb where he shouldn't, there was no reason that he'd be there. And it was one of those really, and I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and I'm like, okay. Thankfully, he then called mum and all the rest of it, and dad, and blah, did all the stuff. But anyway, and obviously ambulances and that. I actually came out of that one physically unscathed. But it was a pivotal moment, particularly for me, in that I actually got the taste of that there was something beyond this physical space.
Right.
But it faded quickly. I think what happens is we have these moments of epiphany, and if you don't kind of maintain a small, not a huge level of practice, but a small level of consistent awareness dipping in, then it blends back into the daily life of the humdrum, and we just, lose sight of it. So it gave me a flash, but then it took another 20 years for me to fully be where I am today, where I don't just know it intellectually, but I know it as a core reality.
But you know what I see energetically, and I speak to my guides as well, I'm feeling guided. That was the beginning of you learning. And you were only meant to have a taste.
A little taste. Yeah.
You were only meant to have that taste. You know, so many of us, where was I reading? We think that life is supposed to go a certain way. We think that I should have, would have, could have. There is no such thing as any of that. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Everything that happened in your life happened. It was divinely orchestrated. It was
absolutely
exactly the way it was meant to go. So sometimes it's hard to get our heads around, when we look back and we're like, really? But I see that, and what I'm feeling right now is that was so divinely orchestrated.
No, it absolutely was. And then the final near death that I was 20. So these were sort of the final one at 28. I was already in my marriage, my first marriage to the father of my daughter, who's now 26 and out in the world. And I've got to say, for those of you out there who might be struggling with your teenagers and thinking it's all gone a mess and it's never going to get better, I promise you, there's always an opportunity to see yourself and them with fresh eyes. You don't necessarily have to wait till they're in their 20s and out as an adult. You can do it today because they are their own wisdom being. You're your own wisdom being, and it's only that we get in our fearful thinking about ourselves and them that has us trying to make them understand us, or us feeling like we have to intellectually in some way understand them, and we don't. Good relationships are not about understanding. They are about goodwill and a heart connection, and that is not a head game. That is not an intellectual thing. So you have the opportunity now. But for me, with my daughter and I, we did go through a bit of a rough patch there, partly because we were both processing the abuse because my first husband was abusive in every way. And the final accident for me was being run over at 100 kilometres an hour coming home from work. My daughter was 3. I was on a pedestrian crossing, a zebra crossing, broad daylight. I now laugh with my family. I go, he had all 3 going, the chap. He was driving a van without brakes. He was just speeding and driving without a license because of some eye condition. And my mother's father, amongst the many things he used to do, he's now passed, he was an SP bookie at the races. I don't know whether they use that term there in America, but he used to take the bets at the races, at the horse, taught me how to read the horse guide. So it's like, not that I gamble, but he taught me how to do it. And so my joke with my family is, well, that's a trifecta. Had I been at the races and put a bet, probably would have won.
You would have won. Wow.
On that horse doing or that race with all 3 factors in play, but instead it was me being run over. But at that point, I had been. I actually asked my husband to leave. I hadn't told my family at that point. They were not aware of the full extent of the experience I was having. So my dear women out there, if any of you are in any kind of difficult relationship, marriage, otherwise, whatever, please reach out to your family and friends or trusted person wherever they are. Don't assume that they know. I knew that my family knew that they didn't like him. They didn't like him from the start. And they kind of knew that he was very difficult to be around in family occasions and was not a pleasant person, but they did not know the full extent because I hid it. because we do.
Yeah, that's what we do. We're embarrassed.
That's what we do. We hide it. We hide the full
things.
extent. They didn't know, and they didn't know I asked him to leave. And so, unfortunately, that accident, I died in the helicopter that was taken to the hospital. I had to, the paddles on the heart to bring me back again.
Wow.
And I was in a coma for a few months because of brain injury. And from that brain injury, it took 28. It took at least 18 years before I was able to hold down full-time work again.
Wow.
And part of the reason I have all these degrees, apart from the fact that I love studying, and I do, and learning, but part of it was the process of rewiring my brain. I still have on and off some neurodivergence, some cognitive processing issues here and there, but we all, the miraculous nature of our brain is how plastic it is and how it rewires.
Oh, yes, you're speaking my language.
Love it. And it has definitely done that over the last 20 years now. Yes, 21 years or something like that. But it definitely did send me down a path that I hadn't thought I'd be on, but has been the most phenomenal path because it's been a path.
Pia, you have such an interesting life, honestly. Honestly, such an interesting life.
We haven't even gotten into the second marriage yet, which is the evidence.
You know what? Honestly, it is all good because what I want.
It's all in the book, though.
Okay. You know what? So what you're going to do is when we jump off here, I want you to put the link to the book.
Yes. Because
this sounds so like it's like you're leaving women wanting more, which is perfect.
Fabulous.
So listen, okay, let's talk a little bit about just quickly because we're going to jump off in a minute. But where can women find you that want to work with you and want to join, Reboot? And
absolutely. Well, first and foremost, you can click on my name in and above this video, and that will take you straight to my Facebook profile, Pia Antico. And so you'll see my profile is set up with all the sorts of odds and ends and things that I'm doing and inspirations and all the rest of it. You can jump into my DMs and say hello to me. My website is Essential Awakening Mentoring, which is the name of my business, and you'll see lots of stuff on that as well, all the ways that you can work with me. I am currently the project that I'm working on that I'm so excited about is CACKLING CRONES Collective, and it is a monthly membership, paid membership, in which those who are in my container with me, we have weekly live group coaching. We do a crone moon. The dark moon is the crone moon. So we do a moon circle each month. We have book club. We have daily support and inspiration. For those who are part of that container, get to have a fortnight of private Voxer support with me. I do have a one-on-one package that is a 90-day package. If those are interested in that, it is high ticket, but you get a lot for it. So that isn't, but that's not for everyone. This is why I'm doing this membership container, because not everyone wants the in-depth deep dive straight away. We don't all need that necessarily. So I'm excited about my container.
This is amazing. This sounds incredible, Pia. I love it. So listen, when we end this, what I'm going to get you to do is throw up all your links.
I will throw up all my links.
All your links. And this just acts like a Facebook, like just a live. So you're just going to go in the comments and put your links.
I will
people like links. People like to click on links. So yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for the wonderful women beyond 40. And I know that you're all rocking your lives in each wonderful and fabulous way. And I'm hoping that anything I might have said might be helpful to you in any small or large way.
Oh, I honestly, I've learned, I liked this conversation. I learned quite a bit.
So did I. Thank you, Lisa. I feel
I
very
love it.
honored
Thank
to
you
have spoken
so
with you.
much.
Take care.
You. And to those of you that watched, thank you for your love and your support. To those that are going to watch later, because I know you're out there, again, thank you for your love and support. And until next week, we will see you then.